What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of 623 Football Talk. And today we're going to be talking about a camp battle that we are looking forward to when the Cardinals report to training camp on July 23rd. So yeah, the Cardinals report to training camp on July 23rd, a date we are all looking forward to ever since the end of last season, ever since the 2024 NFL draft when we drafted the player, I think 99.9% of us was wanting, Marvin Harrison Jr. The time we've been looking for since the end of last season when Kyler Murray started coming into his own, when we saw Trey McBride just being a beast for the second half of last season. You know, it's just the time we've all been looking forward to as Cardinals fans. And I just can't wait for them to report to camp. I can't wait for opening day. We're still a little bit further out than that, but we're about 33 days out from the start of training camp today. So once we get there, we are basically on the home stretch. The light at the end of the tunnel is huge. The season is almost here. I cannot freaking wait. But we want to get into a subject as far as talking about a camp battle that we're looking forward to seeing. That I think is going to be competitive. I think we really don't know who it's going to be right now. We have our thoughts, our ideas, but we really don't know who's going to win these two positions going into the 2024 season. And that is the cornerback battle. Now, if we would have talked 12 months ago and be like, we're looking forward to the cornerback battle, we would have a totally different view on it because cornerback was seen as a very big weakness. I mean, it's still a relatively unknown as far as the Cardinals' secondary is concerned because we have, one veteran, the Sean Murphy Bunting that they signed in the offseason, but they have a lot of young guys. They have Keitrell Clark, who played a lot of games last year. They have Sterling Thomas, who played a lot of meaningful snaps last year. They have Garrett Williams coming back, who's going to be playing a full season since he only played about half the season last year due to coming back from an ACL injury. And then you drafted a few different guys in the draft this year. So there's going to be a lot of competition. A lot of people, I think, are probably assuming Max Melton, the guy they drafted in the second round this year, is going to take that outside corner opposite Sean Murphy Bunting. But, you can't really discount Keitrell Clark because his coaching staff has so much good things to say about him. And, Sterling Thomas played a lot of meaningful snaps last year. You also have, your third-round pick last year, Garrett Williams, who's from what the coach has been saying, he's been playing really good. He's been having a lot of great battles with Greg Dortch, and Greg Dortch is probably one of the best route runners this team has. So if he's, battling Greg Dortch pretty good, I got a feeling he's going to be in the conversation. He might be more in the conversation as a slot, or maybe he might be competing for an outside corner position. I don't know, but in today's day and age with NFL, you usually have three corners. That's usually your starting formation anyways, because so many teams run out multiple wide receiver sets now. It's not just that your traditional old school football we all grew up watching that we loved, two wide receivers, a tight end, running back, fullback. There's a lot of teams are going 3-4 wide receiver sets, so you need multiple corners. So that battle is going to be very entertaining to see who kind of comes out on top on that. If I had to wage a bet, I think it's probably going to be Max Melton that's going to have every opportunity to win that outside corner position, and then Garrett Williams going to have every opportunity to win that slot corner position. That's my feeling on it. I could be 100% wrong, but that's my feeling. I feel like we're looking at Max Melton because it's been a high draft pick, and I know that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Just because it's a high draft pick doesn't mean you're guaranteed a spot. You got to go out and earn it. But he seems like he has that dog mentality that he's just going to go out there and play hard, and you're going to have to work to get open against him. Even Marvin Harrison Jr. said he was one of the toughest corners that he would match up against in his college career. And Marvin Harrison Jr., playing at Ohio State, played against a lot of good corners. So, for him to say a corner from Rutgers is one of the best corners that he played against in college, those are high compliments. So I have the feeling that he's going to have every opportunity to win that position. And I think Garrett Williams is probably, your penciled in nickel corner as of now. But again, I don't discount that, how the coaching staff feels about Keitrell Clark. He started off really good last year and then kind of, cooled off, and they kind of just sit him for a little bit. I think that was more to save his mental than anything. And Sterling Thomas was a practice squad guy and came in last year, and, he wasn't great, but he played good. He played admirably considering the position that he was put in, considering he was getting targeted probably more than any other corner on the roster at that point because, practice squad corner coming in, you're going to be put to the fire, with the horrible defensive line we had towards the end of last year. He wasn't getting a lot of help from up front, so they were getting all day to throw the ball. So I think he played well for all things considered. So I don't think you can really throw him out as well, or I don't think you can really throw him out either. So I think he definitely has the opportunity. But no, that's going to be an interesting battle because we have, for once, it feels like we have a lot of depth. No matter who comes out on top, whether it's Max Melton playing outside, Garrett Williams playing inside, or Garrett Williams playing outside, and someone else playing in the slot, or Keitrell Clark ends up coming up and winning one of those spots. I mean, whatever the case is, doesn't really matter. I feel like finally, probably since the Bruce Arians era, where we actually have some decent depth at corner, and we're very young at corner. That's a position that you got to be, very freakishly athletic to compete with some of these wide receivers, and to be young and athletic like they are right now, man. I mean, it's exciting to see. It's exciting to, finally look at the cornerback room and not cringe at what we have there. It's been that way for a long time now. Ever since probably ever since prime Patrick Peterson was here. That was probably the last time I really looked at this corner room and been like, okay, I feel pretty confident about it. I'm not saying I feel more confident about this corner room than I did when we had prime Patrick Peterson, not the 2020 Patrick Peterson that was a shell of his former self, but prime Patrick Peterson. I'm not saying this is better than the 2015 team. They got a long ways to go to prove that, but no, I think they got, it's good to see. I think if they got a good squad, they're young, they're hungry. I think they're going to come out and compete. And I'm just excited to see what they can do, and I'm just excited that we finally have some depth there, and it's not going to be a liability. I feel like safety, we're already good. We got Buddha, we got Jalen Thompson there. I mean, I don't think we have to worry about the safeties. We actually, it is a young room, but we still do have a vet in there, and then we have our, vets at safeties to kind of keep these young guys grounded a little bit. So, man, it's an exciting time. I feel like it's an exciting time just to be a Cardinals fan. There's so much to be excited about. We're going to talk about the offense on another episode, but, man, there's just so much to be excited about. It's so exciting to see a good culture being built. We have adults in the room. We have an adult in the coaching staff. We have an adult in the front office versus what we did not have that kind of stuff in the past. There was no drama this offseason. I'm super excited for this season. I'm sure I'm not the only one that feels that way. Yeah, it's going to be a fun season to watch. I think we're going to surprise a lot of people. I think this secondary is going to surprise a lot of people. I think this defense is going to surprise a lot of people. But that Camp Battle corner, I think, is going to be competitive. I think it's going to be, it's going to be competitive. It's going to be fun to watch. It's probably one of the first times I'm really looking forward to watching preseason games. I'm never really that excited about preseason games because you see, the main guys play a series or two, if any at all, in the preseason. So you're watching a lot of young guys, a lot of fringe guys making the roster. So it's actually going to be exciting to watch this preseason because there's so many opportunities throughout this roster for a lot of these free agents or even young guys that they brought in over these last two drafts to just battle for these positions. So it's going to be, so again, I know I keep saying it, but it's going to be fun to watch. And I think, again, like I said, I think this team is just going to surprise a lot of people. A lot of the national media doesn't share that sentiment. They feel like, the Cardinals are maybe a 6-7 win team. To me, 6-7 wins, man, that's just, I'm not saying I would be overly disappointed, but I'd be disappointed. I'm not gonna lie. I would be disappointed if all we got was 6 to 7 wins this year. I feel like this team is better than that. I mean, considering last year we had no business winning 4 games last year with the roster we had. Um, we won 4 games. We were a field goal away from winning 5, and we were a play here and there from winning the Washington game. We were uh, second half meltdown from winning against the Giants. So we were looking at possibly, already 6-7 win team last year when we had no business being that good because the roster was just that bad. But this coaching staff, this coach got this team to play. This coach and this coaching staff got this team to be competitive with a roster that, quite frankly, wasn't very good last year. And this roster is 10 times better than it was last year. I mean, you go up and down the roster, you compare last year's roster to this roster's, it's night and day. I mean, the Kime guys, there's a handful of the Kime guys left. They have flipped this roster in a matter of 12 months. That is insane to think. They've flipped this roster where there's barely any signs of the last regime on this roster. So, I mean, and to do what they did with the roster they had last year, and with the quarterback situation, you're starting Josh Dobbs, who started off well and kind of tanked, and then you put Clayton Tune against Cleveland. Man, it was rough. And then Kyler came back and kind of righted the ship a little bit. Should have went 500 if Matt Prairie could make one of 2 field goals. But no, I mean, this team is, I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. So it's going to be exciting to watch. But first things first, get to camp. That's probably the first position battle I'm going to be watching is that cornerback room to see, who comes out on top, who's a standout, who isn't. It's going to definitely, like I said, be fun to watch and see what happens. All right, guys. Well, that's all I got for this podcast for today. Short and sweet, but we'll be coming back tomorrow. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that.